Hello and welcome back to Universal Love Law. Today I'm going to be making the video for the 12th house stellium. And so, excuse me, I just want to let you guys know that if you guys see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes, and I also work with these little cards I made here to keep me on track. And so whenever I do a stellium video, I want you to know I start with the sun and I break down the sun in the 12th house with the elements. So I'll break down water, air, fire, earth, so that those some people can have a deeper understanding. The sun is the soul, and the sun is the ego. The sun is the self-esteem, is how we show up. So it's very important for sun house people to understand when their sun is in a specific area of life. Then I'll move on to the moon and, Mercury and so on and so forth. I'll go all the way to Uranus. So how about I just start off by explaining what the 12th house is? So basically, the 12th house is an area of life. It's the very last house in the zodiac. And it's an opposite to the 6th house. The 6th house is our daily routines and our service to the world, and what we're consciously aware of, the things we have to do, the productivity, the actions that we take on a regular routine, our diet, and how we're, taking care of ourselves physically, tangible things that deal with work and things like that, right? The areas that we go, like we gotta go to the wash house or whatever a person does, grocery shopping, all of that consists in the 6th house. Your actions and things of that nature, and when you're going to do things and receive service and also be a service. So the 12th house is the opposite of that. It's the unconscious world. It's the subconscious mind. Sorry, guys. It's the world in which we are unaware of certain aspects of ourselves, all dealing with traumas, root traumas. So it can be something like past lives, what in astrology. Also, it can be with like the self-discovery, so the aspect of us developing ourself over time and understanding very hidden aspects of ourselves. The 12th house teaches people how to build boundaries around certain whatever planet is there. So like whatever planet they have there, there's a lack of boundaries because there's an unknowingness that is being like seen to the world, or at least to you, the person with the 12th house stellium. They're feeling it more than another person may be seeing it, but they feel like people can see it so clearly, like, and they run the risk of being taken advantage of, 12th house people, as well as becoming isolated in life often. Feeling of loneliness is a very constant theme for these people. And especially if you have cryon there, but I'm not going to discuss cryon. I'll do cryon in a different actual video, because I'm going to focus on cryon more for parents and of course regular, people that don't have children or whatever. But so yeah, so it's a place of isolation when you're all alone, maybe healing from something like a physical pain, so like a hospital. um, it's when a person can go off the deep end because it deals with the mental illnesses. Like, it deals with our psyche on a level that we don't know exist. So it can definitely bring about mental illness, and that brings forth an isolation and, mental homes, uh, insane asylums, prisons, Also, people with prominent 12th house energy, it can definitely show long terms of imprisonment, um, especially how the 12th house is aspected. But you also can just be a prisoner of your own mind. Um, and I understand that very well because I have Saturn in the 12th house, which is very mature placement. I'll break that down when I get to Saturn. But let's start with with the sun, and let's put it in the 12th house and let's see what we got, right? So our sun is our ego, okay? So it's our self-esteem. It's what we use. It's a tool that we use consistently, that we're always tapped into, just like the rising and the moon. But the sun is so prominent, we're using it all the time. It's what other people see, it's what we see. It's our ego. It's what we use when we need to achieve or propel or just to experience, like not even trying like Mars where you're activating your willpower. It's more so your ego. So it's what you will stand for and what you won't stand for. It's your self-esteem, and it's that for yourself, right? Oh, sorry, my card's here. um it also deals with arrogant energy, and our purpose is what people feel purposeful in their life. The sun is what gives a person the purpose and feeling like their life is purposeful and meaningful. They're fulfilling something, right? So when we drop it into the place of the unknown and self-discovery, that means that sun in the 12th house people have to learn how to discover the shadow aspects of themselves. They have to go within and they have to do a lot of work because in early childhood, your ego is built through, you know, feeling like you can't do something, and then you crying and you fighting to do it right and get it done. So when the sun is in a house where those experiences will support the sun person to actually develop a healthy ego to going after what they want and feeling like I did it right. In early childhood, when it's in the 12th house, there's an unknowing. There's like a blindfold shades over the sun house person. The sun is completely oblivious to an ego, how to develop it, what is it. And so they often experience early childhood of being an only child. They often experience being the outcast because how they show up, their actions, the way they show up is very introverted because the 12th house brings forth this very introverted energy because it's dealing with the inner world. It's dealing with the soul. It's dealing with the aspects of self that it's unknown, right? There's a knowing, but it's so submerged under blindfoldedness, just like a naiveness, like an unawareness that it requires certain experiences to re like to open wounds, like open a wound of something that doesn't feel good. So yes, so let's see. Sun on a positive level definitely have a very deep connection with spirit. So sun in the 12th house people may have had a very big imagination. I feel like I have had a very big imagination because I'm a Pisces rising. So as a kid, I was like, I'm Neptune energy. I'm Neptune. I always felt very in my mind. But so I can only imagine sun in the Neptune house because the 12th house is ruled by Neptune and Pisces. So this makes a some person very, as a kid, very in their imagination, wanting to play alone. Because when they play with other kids, they notice that there's something different about them. They notice they don't get the same response as others. They notice that when other kids get hurt, it's like a processing. They're like, what's going on? Like, this kid's crying, like, get up. You know, it can make a person very detached to the having empathy for others because they're processing information. It can make them very detached from having empathy for themselves. Like, they crucify themselves. Sun in the 12th house people can crucify themselves, meaning that they can self punish themselves for feelings of lack of self esteem, feelings of lack of being understood, lack of being accepted, lack of being a part of a group, right? So if you have an earth sun in the 12th house, you know, this is someone who has to develop a healing energy because they're healers. They're so tapped into the spiritual world on a very practical level that they're able to be amazing teachers, like of the spiritual world, um but like more specifically like different forms of spirituality and divination. So it can be whatever a person is into, whether it's light, dark, good, bad, whatever. They're very in tune to the spiritual world where entities are physical and non-physical. They're very in tune to understanding. So they can be very practical teachers. They can be very practical based on experience. So these kids, these 12th house earth people were earth sun in the 12th house were very introverted as a kid because they're grounded. And all earth sun signs are grounded. That is their approach to the world, and that is what people see. So just because they are very grounded doesn't mean that they don't have self-esteem and ego. It just means that they don't show it the same way a fire would, right? And so that sun earth in the 12th house has to learn how to make sense of what they're feeling, and writing can definitely help them, but also just being aware of how people respond to them, because 12th house sun people are very aware that they get a different reaction from the world and from people than others. You know, like some people, they get like a lot of energy, a lot of reaction, a lot of responses. 12th house sun people don't get all that. They just kind of get overlooked because their light is in such a dark place. Their light in this life is for them to overcome some things that are very deep and very important lessons. So these are also kids that could have grew up with disabilities too, like dyslexia and things of that nature. But really with Mercury, but we'll get there. So water in the um 12th house people are very creative people. They're able to emotionally empathize with themselves and others when they mature. Like, it takes time. Initially, the sun water people can be very emotional as kids. Like, everything just hurts their feelings. These are the kids that may cry a lot and like to cry alone and be alone. A lot of energy is understood through that pain. Like, a lot of information is being received to an emotional, watery sun in the 12th house. They're going to get information when they're in isolation, when they're going through their emotional roller coaster alone. And it is safe to have, you know, one person very nurturing, maybe a mother figure, big sister figure, something like that, to support them. But they're the type of people that could get so angry that they don't understand what's wrong with them, like that they just run off in a just a heat of anger, like, but it's emotional, so it needs space. It's, you know, water needs to flow. And like the earth sign 12th house person, they're more grounded, so they can have frustration build up and become very violent too, because the problem is these people are unaware of their feelings. It's life right when they come out. It's isolation, because where their sun is shining, where their ego is being built and created, there's a lack thereof. There's an unknowing how to do it. It's an unknowing how to provide purpose for self. So these watery 12th house sun people they really learn over time to channel that emotion and not allow it to take them over the deep end to where they're lost into the sea of unknowing, of only they understand. Like, music really helps soothe them, and really can help them, especially music that is on a frequency that is of a higher vibration, or on a frequency that is a megahertz that will automatically put someone into a certain frequency emotion. um so like music that is like instrumentals or jazz, or music without words, or sounds of the ocean, sounds of birds, sounds of nature. This really will help, okay? Also with the earth, it will really help, because you guys have an ability to channel energy. Think of all the forms of spirituality. You guys are able to tap into that, and you're going to. If you're not able to tap into your inner self, you will be driven crazy from the outer world, the material world, and the world based on system and structure. It will drive a 12th house sun person crazy. So they have to have a space for themselves to be creative, to be emotional, to be grounded, to be in their own world, to build their identity of self. Also with fire, these people can download art, whether it's in the form of music, whether it's in the form of dancing. Oh my God, like, these people are very creative. It's fire in a hidden house, in the 12th house, where dreams and illusions exists, where it comes from. Okay, so these people are tapped into where it all comes from. So it's very important for the fire 12th house people to be given opportunities to be creative, like, and to self-express themselves by themselves, whether it be painting, things that will bring out the creative forces in that fiery sun person, because there's so much they don't know about themselves. Like, and I say that because other signs, when they're, other sun house in different houses, when they're born, they get their identity through whatever channel, whatever house that is that they're being exposed to. Okay? So if it's the fourth house, it's a home that they're being groomed, basically. If it's the sixth house, it's the routines that they go every day. Their parents may have a routine that they do. As kids, they're very aware of this. It's what's building their understanding of themselves, how they respond, and how they're responded to. But for the sun, it's all of that in a house that deals with only you, yourself, and like me, myself, and I. It's not the house where you see other people interacting with you. It's the subconscious mind. It's your mind that you don't even know what's all in there. So I always speak of early childhood, because of course this is going to get so much more easier as you grow. But yeah, so you guys have an ability to bring forth very inspirational work. And you guys can definitely help heal people. You guys have a gift of foresight, seeing, because that's what fire does. And you guys can grow very confident and grow very big egos in your spirituality if you guys learn how to channel it. Fire in the 12th house it's like spirit in its totality versus soul, right? It's more spirit essence. And so you definitely have an ability to work with um different forms of spirituality, divination systems and things of that nature. Just like that earth, just like that water, but the fire has more like inspiration to give to the world. Like when they become teachers, they're like very popular. These can be your popular spiritual gurus and things because it's supported more in that house. The 12th house deals with spirituality. So you being seen for having this information that a lot of people are not aware or privy to is very comfortable because fire, your sun in the 12th house, will make you seen for that. Moving along to air. If a person has an airy sun in the 12th house, these can be your clairaudient people. These are the people that are very aware of the voices in their head, okay? Um, they're very aware of the the ability to intellectually understand and process the spiritual world. In early childhood, it can be very challenging for these air house 12th house people to do that because they are very gifted. They have really amazing gifts and not like foresight like that fire, but like the ability to understand because the air deals with the mental realm. It deals with the communication, the intellect. So having it in the area of the 12th house and your sun there, these are people who can be very um it can be it can go either way because it can be a person who without channeling it in a positive way or with negative aspects to their airy sun in the 12th house can cause them to have mental illnesses like mental problems like they're hearing things, schizophrenia, things of that nature. But channeled correctly, meaning a person who is very aware and know thyself, your childhood doesn't make you, you make you. And yes, some things are mental and chemical imbalances, but all things are possible. There is no limits when it comes to our experience on earth. It just requires a little bit of alchemy, which is time, right? Intention and energy, transcending and transmuting energy. So I know that that's probably a lot of information, but for those, I just don't want to air in the 12th house person to be discouraged when they hear this. Air sun in the 12th house because they're very aware of things beyond this realm. They're very into their own world and it could be kind of uncomfortable because they may feel like they cannot relate to others. They cannot talk to people about this. But we're moving into a time now where that is going to be far more accepted. It's going to be far more accepted when a person, is able to actually express how they feel, even if it comes off very unworldly or unorthodox, and people are going to gravitate to you because we're moving into the age of Aquarius where everything is going to be communicating with each other in groups, and we're going to find our tribes whether you know it or not. So you 12th house sun people, Aries sun people, meaning you have air, Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius in the sun in the 12th house, you guys are going to be able to be your true authentic self, being able to communicate the things that you're thinking in your mind and express yourself in your tribe will come to you, will flock to you, because that's the age in which we're moving into, where that's all acceptable now. It's not like you're weird or, it might be therapy for another one to hear your words and to understand what's going on that level. And so, yeah, ultimately, overall, Sun in the 12th house people have a lot of lessons to learn in this journey. And they have a lot of healing to do on an ego level. They are born basically with no ego, and they're here to identify it and become aware of it, but it's so hard to understand. And so I would encourage um, Sun in the 12th house people is to understand what an ego is, understand how to build self-esteem, understand how to identify yourself. And that's going to take a lot of work. It's going to require you being aware and being in the now, meaning not worrying about the future, not drifting off in your world, but being actually aware, especially when you're interacting with others, especially when you're alone. Being able to be very aware of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are coming up, writing them down, expressing them, recording yourself, writing music, whatever it is that exists in your shadow. It can be different from all people. It's very necessary that you become aware of it, build on it. If it's just so much that it's not making sense, like you have thoughts that are all over the place about your awareness and self-esteem and yourself, um, then it's really important to start building on that, meaning start with the foundation of information on who you are, what you like, what you don't like, the thoughts that you receive, your downloads. Start to record it, because it's going to become more aware. All of your gunk, all of that stuff that is deep down inside that we all have. But it's just some people have a harder time seeing it. It's definitely important for you guys to become aware of it, through the act of intention and taking action towards understanding yourself. So you can build a healthy ego. We all need ego to overcome trials and tribulations, to have a understanding of life. We need to know when to utilize our sun energy, and when we need to put our ego on the shelf and become humble. And so that looks so different for all sun 12th house people, right? So yeah, I'm gonna move along to the moon. So for everyone that has a moon in your also, I wanted to mention too, for the sun in the 12th house. I feel like another thing is a lot of people might come into your life and try to mold and shape your mind, because you seem so vulnerable and you seem like you don't know. So I would encourage you to learn how to state clear boundaries with people on what you do and do not like, even if you're showing them with your actions and they don't like it. Oh well, it's all about you, and it's very sensitive for you. They may not have these problems in life where their self-identity and their awareness of self is so far away from them. They're having a they're not having those same challenges trying to understand their ego. They're not having that challenge on building their self-esteem. So it's very important to make sure that you're protecting yourself from people who will take advantage of you, because people will sense your unknowingness, your gullibleness, and as long as you stay protected with your boundaries, like, okay, I feel like you're overstepping my boundaries, I don't like the way you're talking to me, or I don't like the way you're treating me, or I feel like you're not listening to me, and stating how you feel, that will make a world of difference in your world when it comes to being heard, and not being lonely and misunderstood all the time. even though that comes with the territory of having a 12th house sun. You know, your sun in the 12th house brings forth a hidden gift in that. There's a hidden gift and a very spiritual, divine one once you channel it and tap into it. So I just wanted you to know that, okay? So yeah. Now moving along to the moon. So remember, the moon is our emotions. It's our imagination. It's our reaction. So if a person does something, usually our sun is in action, our ego, and then once another person reacts, our reaction to their actions is our moon. We're dealing with our moon now. Especially if it's something that hurt our feelings or something like that. That's when we're interacting with our moon energy. And so we don't usually show our moon energy. We have two protectors, which is the ascendant, our persona, and then we also have the sun, which is our ego, to protect that moon. So when with you moon in the 12th house, people, you guys can be very vulnerable to being, you guys are very susceptible to being thrown in a world of unknown, because people can automatically trigger your emotions off the littlest things, like whatever it is that you don't like, that don't make you happy. Some people have strong moon placements where if someone comes at them the wrong way, or they're emotionally happy, unstable, they may channel it through a house where they can learn the experiences more clearly. For you guys, moon in the 12th house, there's an unknowing. There's a feeling like you cannot stabilize your emotions. So feelings of being out of control are very prominent for moon in the 12th house people. These are the people who might hurt or harm themselves, cut themselves, things like that, when they're emotionally unstable, because that world that they spiral into only leads them into darkness, where they are just storing and collecting more trauma. And so it's very important for moon in the 12th house people to develop strength. Okay, so 12th house moon people have to become strong emotionally. They have to become aware of their emotions and feelings at all times. They have to become aware of the triggers that, people might inflict on you guys, or that you might be inflicting on yourself, for that self-pity thing that we all do sometimes. Sometimes we just go into this negative behavior, like where we're harming ourselves, and we're not being kind to ourselves, because it feels good to kind of just sit in that loneliness, right? But it's really important for us to stay balanced emotionally, because our emotions, they're powerful. People do all type of things in the heat of the moment of emotions, and so it's really important. The moon deals with our true feelings, so being blind to how we truly feel, meaning like the 12 houses, we're unconscious to how we truly feel, can cause an unsettling anxiety, a desire to have clarity over their emotions, and that could make a person feel weak. It can make a person feel drained. It can make a person battle depression and things of that nature, on a negative note. Now, when we're talking about a positive note, these people have the ability to do a lot of work and have a lot of spiritual gifts. They are very private. They don't like to let their left hand know what their right is doing, because they learned, maybe from a lot of experiences, not to do that, not to allow someone to invade into their emotional space, so that they can stay healthy and balanced. They're very well aware of their turbulent emotions, and they know what they can do. And so it's very important for them to stay in a constant control of that. Stay in it, especially for the ones that have like Cancer moons in the 12th house. Like I'm a Cancer moon, so I understand mood swings is constant with me. That's why I can't make videos consistently, because I only do things when my mood allows me to. But mine's in the 4th house, so it's different for me. Home environment brings clarity. 12th house doesn't bring clarity. It's your work that you do. And the work that you do really deals a lot with the dreams that you have, recording your dreams, making sense of the littlest things, becoming a recorder of your life. Take your life that serious to where you have to be aware of yourself at all time to stay emotionally stable, to stay strong in that right. So sometimes it can give us the wrong perception. Our emotions, our moon can definitely give us the wrong perception of things, and that being in the 12th house of dissolution can really cause a person to feel jaded or to feel harmed or hurt by others very easy. They're very susceptible to feeling that, because sometimes when we're thinking irrationally or thinking with our emotions, we're not seeing the bigger picture. And so the 12th house can really send a person down a negative spiral of emotional confusion. So that's why it's really important for you guys to spend time alone. Become private and take pride in it so that you guys can protect yourself. Because once you let a person in, they have the power to hurt you. They have the power to mess with your mind if you're not strong, if you don't set those clear boundaries. Just staying true to yourself and not being flexible to others just to have others, because sometimes you may feel like you're alone a lot or isolated from the world a lot, and that's not healthy and it's not fair to you. You deserve to have relationships like everyone else, but yours must be based on boundaries, and that's not easy for a moon in the 12th house person, because sometimes they allow things to slide because they don't see how it can be building up a very bad codependency or give and take just for the sake of a relationship, or just for the sake of a connection or friendship, and so it's really important for moon in the 12th house people to not become taken advantage of, because people think that you're vulnerable or you're weak, because you're not. And in fact, you actually have an ability to help them, to heal them, to improve their life, to help them heal their wounds and their traumas. But you also don't want to be walking around trying to be doctor on everyone else, because you had that in your life. You have that lesson in your life to learn how to build boundaries and walls up to protect your emotions, because it's just very important for your mental health, your emotional well-being. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, so it's very important to, like I say, just be very aware of who you are. Take pride in your ability to have great empathy for others and yourself. Take pride in your deep connection emotionally to a world that a lot of people are not comfortable with being in or talking about. That spirituality, that gift that you have emotionally, to be in tune with the whole room. Nobody has to say nothing. A moon in the 12th house person will walk into a room and be drained if the energies in there are negative, because they're an open portal. Their emotion allows their portal to just be open and susceptible to anything. And so it's really important to just keep yourself geared up, like start to toughen your skin by experiencing that maybe tough experiences, like telling people no. You know, you're protected. Like, you're not gonna be harmed for standing up for yourself or saying no. It might hurt you to say no, but it's really important that you do say no, because if you don't, you're going to make yourself more unhappy in life, you know? And then you'll end up attracting people, when you do channel that energy the right way, when you do build those boundaries and those walls up, you'll be able to attract people that respect you, and you can actually help them heal, because you're very gifted with the ability to heal. Moon energy is nurturing. Your emotions are powerful. It's what can make or break something. It's what can make two people in love and make two people hate each other. Emotions are powerful. Water sign people are powerful. Water moon people are powerful. They can damn near will into existence anything off their tears. So it's really important to know that you have an energy that you don't want to allow anyone to take advantage of. Okay? So let's move to the Mercury in the 12th house. So people that have Mercury in the 12th house, is really challenging for these people, because they have a very amazing gift to bring up information and help a person understand subjects that are very shadow, like, so like astrology, spirituality, whatever a person is into, all of those divination systems, right? So these people are very gifted in the spiritual world to understanding and being able to process information that is not easily processed for a very logical person. The Mercury in the 12th house people have that ability to sense another person, sense deception. They know when someone's lying to them, kind of like that 8th house energy. 12th house energy understands spirituality, like vibration, and they're just genetically embedded with this gift. But remember, again, the 12th house also can make a person have learning disabilities. Okay, so that's very prominent, like dyslexia, or flipping the letters and numbers around, certain letters and numbers, and all type of mental illnesses. The Mercury is our mind, it's our communication, how we process information, and how we communicate with others, what we are thinking about. In the area of the 12th house, you're kind of in a world that you're processing information that is very deep, that is very dreamy, that is in the imagination, and subject matters that deal with spirituality. And the Mercury person is definitely in tune with things very early on, but it doesn't seem like it. They're very overlooked because they seem like they don't know, or like they're like don't have all their rocks or all their screws, but they do. It's just they remember the Pisces energy. Me, I'm a Pisces rising, so a lot of people have told me, like, even especially guys, like when they like me or something and they're like trying to get the eye contact, I'll be looking at them, but it's like I'm looking through them. And it's always been a gift of mine to be able to, if I'm really shy because I really like somebody, I just become very dreamy and glossy. I don't, and they're like, do you like me? And I'm just like, I could tap into that disassociation and that escape energy, which is Neptune and Pisces. The 12th house is that too. So Mercury 12th house people, they may tend to detach a lot. They may tend to be having a conversation with you, and people might be talking to a Mercury in the 12th house person, and they don't get what I'm saying, but they do get what you're saying. They are just able to do something you can't do, which is be in your conversation with you in a whole nother world at the same time. That's processing things while you speak to them. They're very gifted, very gifted. They know how to work with that energy while they're interacting, but it may look like they're not aware, but they are. And sometimes people could be very hurtful to Mercury and the 12th house people and like talk to them all crazy, or try to take advantage of them, like they didn't just say they don't want you to do something. And like, for instance, a 12th house Mercury person might say, I don't like that when you do it, and then the person might do it again because they not hearing the 12th house person. They not hearing the Mercury in 12th house person. They're misunderstood. They're not heard. It's like their communication is submerged under water. And it's like people see them and they're interacting, but they're not taking them seriously until the Mercury in the 12th house person has to speak up for themselves, clear their throat. Did you hear me? I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. And then they start to see the 12th house person a little different, you know? But if the 12th house person just allows people to over talk them, then you will never feel hurt, and you're only going to cause more self-harming, conflicting experiences on yourself. It's a lot that goes into having a 12th house responsibility. Someone who has to learn how to stand up for themselves, to speak up. Yeah, you guys are very deep listeners. You understand what a person is saying. You understand what a person is not saying, but feeling while they're talking to you. You guys are very in tune. Yeah. But it also, like I say, it can cause depression, being misunderstood. Not feeling like you are heard is very hard to deal with. It feels like, what am I living for? It can bring a person into, you know, spurs of depression, of feeling like, what am I doing here? Because they have so much that they're aware of. They're very smart as any other person. No one's, smarter than them. They're not uneducated, or they're not unintelligent because of their Mercury in such a dark place, and not dark like spooky or taboo, but more so like a place where it's like white noise. You're trying to be heard, but people just don't receive your message because your Mercury is in the 12th house. So it's kind of somewhat like you're talking to yourself. But I would say do that more. Talk to yourself more. If anybody ever tell you that talking to yourself is a bad thing, I would say that they lack wisdom, because you're supposed to have an inner talk with yourself constantly. And with the gift of the Mercury in the 12th house, these people have an ability to, like, in the midst of them talking to themselves, they have a gift. They can bring forth some amazing creativity to the world that only their mind can imagine because of what they're tapped into. So whether it be them creating a YouTube channel and talking to the camera, or them writing, their thoughts out, something. Mercury in the 12th house people need to communicate. Overcome that fear of not being heard, or that anger associated with being misunderstood. Somebody's going to understand you out there. And the more that you develop your communication skills, the more you'll be gifted with good ideas and things that 12th house can only give you. No other house can give you. You'll be able to tap into and channel energies, because now it's like, okay, you're working with your energy, and what you seek is seeking you. So if you're seeking to grow the what gives you life, your ability to communicate, so many other things give you life. But if you're valuing it and taking pride in it and not allowing it to be a challenge, or be like some self-loathing, because 12th house, remember, it always makes us beat ourselves up. If you take pride in it and actually utilize it as a gift that you were given, you'll be able to help people a lot. You'll be able to help heal people. So it's really important that you guys take pride in your Mercury in the 12th house. Overcome the hurdles, and when people are overloading their mouth, telling you all of their life, and then barely listening to you, then you know how to set those boundaries straight. And you know how to explain to them, like, I feel like you're not listening to me. I don't like that. People will respect you because and then they will begin to see you different. But yeah. So now I'm going to move on to Venus. So those of you guys that have Venus in the 12th house, remember that your Venus is your, it is your, so the value that you have for yourself. Remember, I'm looking at my cards that I made over here. It deals with harmony energy. It deals with your charm, the love, pleasure, and what you want to experience pleasure and things of that nature. So this person is going to have a hard time expressing their love to people. They might attract very cold, unemotional people because it feels safe to them. Venus in the 12th house people, they don't feel comfortable being vulnerable. And ultimately, when your Venus is activated, in a sense, you're being vulnerable with the intention to receive, something, you're opening yourself up to receive. It's the receiving energy. And it's the giving energy as well. But even the give and take can be too much, too tingly and sensational and sensual for them. They may prefer to, be alone. These people could be celibate for a long time because of their fear of connecting with others. And a lot of their early experiences could have been, they're just automatically not open to it because their Venus has always been in their 12th house, right? Since day one, since they were born, Venus is in their 12th house. So they just automatically, when they can see how other people interact in love, but when they try to reciprocate that, or they try to mirror that, they don't feel what another person would feel. They don't feel the same way. It could actually makes them feel very uncomfortable. Venus in the 12th house people, they can be taken advantage of in relationships because of their fear. Like, oh, this person is, scared to do this and scared to do that. Or this person will do anything. Like, when I say taken advantage of, like, so Venus in the 12th house people know how hard it is to open up, but nobody's gonna not try. People will still try, but it could make a person that is aware of that, just use them for like whatever it is they want from them, because they could look at it like a victim, like a narcissistic victimhood type of relationship. Like, you can't even open up emotionally. Like, you can never fulfill me. And I know that sounds really saddening, but don't be sad, Venus in the 12th house people. Know that there's people out there like you too that need to baby step their way into love and not rush into it, because what you seek is seeking you too. And so as long as you're always in an honest state, you learn your lessons with those relationships that might not last, like the ones that are very cold, and you feel like there's no love here. You know what love is. Even though you feel uncomfortable, you need someone to help you grow an identity in that love. And so allowing people to come and go, and like when they're when it's no longer serving you, let them go, and know and try to begin to define your love, the love that you desire. What is love to you? What do you see as good love? Like, and some people are just very stern, like, oh, a relationship is only good for this, like, and that's what I'm do. Or they can get in relationships with people that are not very touchy feely or very like lovey dovey. They can appreciate those relationships more. But another thing is, they do look for love relationships that where they can escape with another person and be on a very deep level, one-on-one, like a very private love life. These people could be very private lovers. A 12th house Venus person, when they do find their equal, they'll be very introverted with the way that they might not even tell people about their relationship, depending on their sun sign and other aspects in the chart. But the Venus person might be very private with who they care about and who they mess with. But there's a desire, there's a very deep desire, like an inner child, like needing to be loved. There's a craving to be loved here, and there's a craving to feel it. There's a craving for a 12th house Venus person to have genuine love. That love that's like what they call twin flame, or like a soulmate. Very deep. Like someone that they can go off into their land with, and sleep a lot with, have a lot of dreams with. They'll be very connected to the ones that they love on a very spiritual level too, like instinctual. Not even like they don't have to say much to each other. And that's what they really desire. Ultimately, Venus in the 12th house people desire a person who is just as deep as them as they are, and someone that will be patient with them, that will slowly move towards them and love them, because it's not easy for them to open up like that, and it's not easier for them to, because they're discovering, just like the other person might be more in tune with themselves on a relationship level, and might not have that blockage or that blindfold in the area of love. Excuse me. So that the Venus person just needs a little bit more time. And Venus in the 12th house people that have a lot of early experiences, they connect to their partners spiritually when they have intercourse and things like that. They can tap into a person spiritually, like that's where the boundaries come in place, like a Venus in the 12th house person can be ruled over, or can rule over another person on a spiritual level, because once they open their self up, their portal up to a person that is unaware of how deep the Venus person's love is, they'll feel that connections. Like we hear about it a lot, where you're always connected to every partner you've had or whatever, like through the cord that you create with them during intercourse. They feel it on a level where the Venus in 12th house person, they feel their partner. They're very aware. They don't need to talk to them on the phone. They just know. It's an inner knowing. It's a gut feeling. It's a knowing, like, like I know this person is thinking about me. You can send messages. It gets really deep, because remember, the 12th house deals with spirituality and imagination, and it deals with subconscious and root trauma. Like, so these Venus 12th house people definitely can have a lot of experiences with love on a traumatic level that can make them more boundaries up when it comes to relationships, and like a lot of things that they just don't have time for no more. You know, they tired of being sick and tired. They don't just, like, you gotta be this way or I can't deal with you, because you've had your fair share of hard relationships, or relationships that were helping you define love but was hurting you, and feeling like a fool and having to pick up those pieces within yourself and do that inner work. That takes a lot. So yes, so let's see. So now I'm going to move on to Mars. Let me make sure that I just open up, learn to feel vulnerable, self-suffering, take advantage of. Okay, Mars. So Mars is very private. Mars in the 12th house is gonna be a very private person as far as what they want a person to know that they're going after in life. A lot of the things that they go after in life is not gonna be for the world to see or for the world to know, or not even close people, because they understand they have understand over the years how much energy it takes for them to get from one place to another, from point A to point B. Their willpower is in a underworld, okay? Their willpower deals with like deep feelings and emotions tied to it. So they know that sharing their world with everyone or what they want, and they know that that's not good business, right? They know that that could prolong them receiving it. These people can be masters at planting seeds of desire and just allowing it to grow, nurturing their desires every day. But it could be very hard for them to have a direction in life. Mars in the 12th house. These people can be very lost in the world. They not knowing where to go, where direction to go into. These people can be very restless at times, trying to figure out what it is that they want in life. But do once they manage to understand what they are good at, like let's say that their chart's very clear in other areas, so they're like, okay, I could use my energy for this, or I'm really into cooking, I want to be a chef, whatever it is that they're into. The 12th house will give them the ability to will into existence their desires, but with secrecy. It's going to be very private. It's going to be a lot of, they're going to have to learn how to get what they want on their own. And they're not going to be able to just be like other people when we see like people having these big parties. Congratulations on the new this, and I'm about to start doing this. No, they need privacy in their life to effectively will in what it is that they want. Because if they start to invite other energies into it, it can mess up their whole plan. And they must really preserve their energy, because they can be so on the go and giving and doing for everyone else that they become blind to what it is that they should be doing for themselves. 12th house Mars people need to become in tune with their desires, what it is that the universe really has in store for them, what God really has in store for them, whatever one believes. Because you guys will be able to conjure up energy. You guys will have very realistic dreams, feeling like you're actually in the dream, like a lot, where because Mars is, that instincts and that reaction, that primal instincts, that feeling So in the area of the dream world where your dreams actually exist, you know, Mars is going to be driven in sleep and awoke. When a person is awoke, Mars can be like not know really where to go. And so I just encourage, like, Mars in the 12th house people can definitely do a lot of work creating music, doing something creative. They could definitely channel a very creative force that is Neptunian like. Because remember, 12th house, but by Neptune, no matter what planet you have there, it still deals with that energy signature. It can be, you can have a Leo in the 12th house. Leo, Mars in the 12th house is going to give you that ability to be creative. It's going to give you that ability to create. And it's going to be in the 12th house energy, which is our, you know, even Mars in the 12th house people can channel the energy as actors. They can become a whole nother role. And so, yeah, but Mars, let me see, yeah. It's important for you guys to definitely keep that. But they also learn, like, keep that boundary with people, not sharing your world with people, like what you got going on, what you got coming up, or what it is that you want, because it's already hard enough you figuring out what it is that you want, right? But also, Mars in the 12th house people, they have an ability to, like, they don't like people who use their authority in the real world, the reality world, with no integrity. They do not like that. They're very big on, you know, like, there is, okay, yeah, you may be like father figures or authority figures, people who try to tell them what to do. This could really irk them because they sense what other people can't sense. Like 12th house people in general, they just sense things that other people cannot just pick up on. And they can pick up on when a person just uses their authority to control. And they don't like that. Mars and the 12th house people, they don't like sensing that a person is dishonest with their authority. And they will pull away from those type of people, if not have any like kind of confrontation. But you know, they also have a sense that the world can be very cold. Like, you know, Mars and the 12th house people, they feel like they're always going for something in this world but never reaching their full happiness in it, because true happiness is the workings from within. You know, true happiness lives there in the 12th house, the unknowing, discovering, self-discovery. That's where the happiness is. But Mars people in the 12th house might feel like they're always on a journey to figure out something about themselves that they just don't know. And then once they understand it, it's like, okay, but there's something else. There's always a yearning to understand self. There's a very strong desire to understand self and your psyche and your mind. Philosophy might be very intriguing subject for Mars people in the 12th house, because they're tapped into that world, but it's from a root, like a urge, like something pulling them, right? And so once they're able to channel what it is that they love to do or they're very into, they can become like, they can dive into it. They can dive into whatever subject that they're into. They can really understand that energy, understand the subject, inside, outside, logical, emotional, you know, every aspect of a subject that they're drawn to. They will understand it because they're driven to. And yeah, that's Mars. Yes. They also don't like to be told what to believe. Like, these Mars in the 12th house people, once they begin to have an identity of their own belief system, they don't like to be told like this is how the world was created and this and this. No, they have their own beliefs, and they do not like being force fed information on spirituality, because they will run a million miles away from that. They want to, that it can anger them, it can frustrate them when it comes to, someone forcing them to believe something. They don't like that. Yeah. They want very deep connections physically with others that they feel a soul connection to. Because Mars also deals with the primal instincts and sexuality. And so they definitely need a partner that can handle their strong, like, subconscious mind. Like, they need a partner that they can go to the depths of themselves with and experience that moment, and get some clarity. They need someone that isn't afraid of going to the deepest parts of themselves and being all that. They they don't want things shallow. They don't want shallow partners. No, they don't want like fun flings, because they're too connected. They're too connected on so many levels to waste their time doing that. Okay, so let's move along to Jupiter. So we have Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is expansion, right? And the 12th house deals with the unknowing, the self-discovery, the subconscious mind, isolation, and things of that nature. So Jupiter can cause a person to become very disassociated with life, and can cause them to be big escapists. Yeah, but they can also channel energy and be very highly influential spiritual teachers as well, because Jupiter governs spirituality and it governs higher knowledge, and it's an expansion place on that. But Jupiter in the 12th house can cause those 12th house energies like escapism and isolation to be expanded and broadened. So people that have strong placement of Jupiter in the 12th house with aspects to that, you guys definitely will go through these experiences that cause you to need to escape often. And as long as you're not escaping in unhealthy ways consistently, like, because there's different substances people use to escape. There's, people can use, like, drugs, alcohol, sex. They can use a lot of things to escape. So as long as Jupiter is not escaping with negative behaviors, then it can be a healthy escape. But it's necessary. Like, Jupiter is not going to do good in the 12th house just always in reality. They need to be out of reality sometimes. They need to escape from reality. There's just no control over that, because Jupiter is like expansion. It's a strong, huge planet. It's going to dominate wherever it is. It's going to bring an expansion or overindulgence, excessiveness, like an excessiveness of that area of life, which is the 12th house. So it's going to be an excessive urge to escape. It might bring forth jail time. It might bring forth a person needing to sit down for a period of time, to go within the depths of their mind, to process information that they have overlooked. So it's really important for Jupiter in the 12th house to have healthy boundaries with people, and healthy escape, escaping, healthy escaping, whether that be just, you know, whatever it is that you do to escape, not to overindulge or over excessively use substances to escape and things of that nature, because this is one of those substance abuse placements. Jupiter in the 12th house. A lot of 12th house energy is substance abuse energy. Is very prominent for that. And so it's really important. But these people can be very boastful about what they know in a very arrogant way, as if they know things you don't know, and they can use that energy to manipulate and guide people, because they're very aware of some energy information and things. Like, they're just very aware and in tune with their self on a spiritual level, like evolved. Like, Jupiter in the 12th house can be very evolved people when they master themselves and they understand life on a deeper level. Like, why are we here? Like, why are we incarnating? Why are we having these experiences? Why do we experience life? Why do we experience suffering? Why? All of these questions become answered with Jupiter in the 12th house, because it's the shadow side where all of these questions exist, and you're just understanding the information through experience after experience, to where you become wise. But it can be used in a positive or negative. The information revealed to Jupiter in the 12th house can drive a person crazy. It can drive someone insane, because they become so wise of information that is hard to deal with. So it's very important to be aware of that, for Jupiter. It does deal with law and legal battles. So, these Jupiter in the 12th house can definitely cause some jail time, or someone needing to, getting their freedom taken away from them. And Jupiter doesn't like that at all. But it definitely can bring forth the ability to become a world leader, someone who is very spiritually inclined, or very, very religious, but there's skeletons in closets with the 12th house energy. So it's important that a person is aware of their actions, because it will always follow them, and whatever they have done and whatever they do will always affect them. But there's definitely a lot of luck when it comes to you being able to process this hidden aspect of yourself. You get lucky. You get the ability to process that information that is very hard to deal with. Strong emotions and feelings that is not easy to deal with. Jupiter will give you some luck. It will give you some grace, right? You will always feel the optimistic possibilities and everything gonna be okay. Like, you always feel that with the Jupiter there in the 12th house. Yeah. So let's see. Now, let's move on to Saturn. So, I have Saturn in the 12th house too. So, basically, when a person has Saturn in the 12th house, it brings forth some type of unknowing themselves. Very clearly and early on, there's a restriction of understanding the subconscious mind. This is someone who is trying to understand complex aspects of themselves, but it just seems like a dream. Everything is not clear. Like, it's like puzzle pieces that you're trying to put together to make sense of your mind, but it's so reluctant, because you let go. Like, some days you really want to understand and go deep within, but you don't feel like you can. Then other days you feel like you're pressured to process your information and understand yourself. There's a strong desire to be stable mentally and not ever lose yourself, and to always have control, self-control. Um, yes, so also Saturn in the 12th house people, the older that they get, little things start to irk them because they need to be off into this space of discovery in solitude, and they like to be isolated. Saturn likes the isolation in the 12th house. Saturn appreciates the isolation. Saturn needs the isolation, because if Saturn's overstimulated with a bunch of kids running around and animals and all that, they begin to get very moody, like a grouch. These people can be very moody people because they're very wise. They know a lot of information. They pride themselves on how much they know, but they're not doing it to be boastful. They're doing it to stay safe. It's a sense of security, okay? Because Saturn also is what makes you feel secure. So there's always this strong desire to feel secure with what you don't know. So you need to learn. It's like Saturn wants to keep learning things, wants to keep diving deep into the minds of themselves and others to get a whole well-rounded version of self, so that Saturn can fully flourish and fully be happy and fully apply the wisdom and structure within their life. When they lack wisdom, they lack security, they lack structure. This will cause them to be in a delusion and really not in a good space mentally. These people can very much so become emotionally unstable, and that feeling of feeling emotionally unstable, mentally unstable, is horrible. It will cause them to have a catastrophic event to where they need to sit down and think in isolation. So isolation comes around often with Saturn in the 12th house people. They often need to experience being alone. Sometimes it's by force and by choice. Like Saturn in the 12th house people will often say, like, I don't want to go out with them, like, or not answer their phone, because they need to be alone and process their world. And this is a very supported placement. I believe, like, over time these people can once they are whole and well rounded, they can teach true wisdom, true knowledge. Okay? That is especially how I feel. Because, I'm a Saturn in the 12th house. And so Saturn in the 12th house people, they definitely feel like often this sad longing to be that, and they feel like even though they may have grew up with wealth in the form of family members, like multiple family members, maybe a pet, those are all different forms of wealth, right? Those are all different forms of things that you have. You might not feel like you have it, though. You might not feel the wealth the same way as the other people who are more social and more active. And I'm very social, active, and outgoing, but Saturn in the 12th house will bring forth a whole nother reality for one to feel when it comes to their loneliness. When it comes to their loneliness, they can be surrounded with one sibling might feel very wealthy with that energy. And then that Saturn in the 12th house person, they feel so disconnected from those things. They feel like, yeah, you were there, but we didn't have a bond. We weren't connected. I don't remember the times that we shared. I don't remember it like that. Like you remember it this way. I don't remember it that way. I remember being very alone. I remember like I didn't fit in with you guys. Saturn will bring forth a maturity level into people when it comes to their outlook on life and their experiences. And they always put the whole together. Like Saturn in the 12th house, people, they don't forget things that people do to them, but they just collected and added to the pot of their understanding of life so that they can make sense of the world, make sense of themselves. It makes them feel stable. Those traumatic experiences, those people who harmed or hurt them, they take time out to process that information. Saturn in 12th house, people need to take time out to process information, and that world exists. This is the only reason why I know the 12th house world, because I spend so much time in solitude, and that nobody is invited into that space. And when I do invite people to that space, they never feel it the way I do, because that 12th house is special. It's for you, you know? But yeah, I don't want to, this video is getting really long, so let me see. Well, it's already long, but okay, let's move on because we got a few more. So Pluto. So Pluto in the 12th house will bring forth a lot of experiences where the transformations that one experiences, where there's loss, where there's just change, like where things just, they lose everything. All of those weird transformations, it helps them to remember again. It helps them to understand. It's a testing. That Pluto in the 12th house is a very testing placement, because it can make a person very depressed. It can make a person feel alone in their struggle, like really alone, like they feel like they are bracing themselves for the next thing, because they know life is not easy, and their transformations, their experiences that transform them in life, restructure them in a way in life, it goes stored straight to their subconscious mind. It affects them subconsciously, and it makes them think depressed, like depressing thoughts, very low thoughts about life, about experiences, about the world. Like, why is the world this way? But Pluto there in a good light, this is a person who can use Pluto and allow the experiences of transformation to bring forth wisdom. But it's not easy to have the Pluto in the 12th house, because these people are usually alone in their transformation, and people don't even know that they went through that. They go through some of the hardest experiences, because it's like going through something where you don't know the outcome. At least sometimes you know this is a possibility, or this is a possibility. These are the things that's going to happen. Pluto is going to put you into an experience where you just don't know what's going to happen. And it seems like the transformations happen so often that it can bring a person down if they don't channel the energy right. Now, if they channel the energy right, meaning they're able to appreciate the transformation and use that powerful tool, gratefulness, gratitude. Remember, that is a very powerful tool when we use gratitude. All things can be achieved and accomplished when we use gratitude. So Pluto people in the 12th house, they must understand to appreciate the transformations that they experience in life, because they can be very self-destructive. They can be very mentally abusive to themselves. They can harm themselves because it feels right. They're somehow feeding this guilty pleasure of destruction, pain, because they don't understand it. But that's what I mean. Like, all it takes is for one to reflect on the experience to begin to understand, meaning look back at it, process it, know what happened, remember what happened, so that you're able to clearly define your strengths, your resilience. Because it's funny when you utilize positive energy with a negative placement like that, with a harder placement, more challenging placement. It's like you beat the game. It's like you already are prepared for what you know is inevitable. But you don't allow it to take control of your life. You don't allow it to take control of your emotions, your mental stability, your emotional stability. You don't allow it to make you escape as if it never happened, only to come back to it and realize that it's still there. The pain is still there. Yeah, like these people can definitely die in their sleep in older age, because Pluto rules death. 12th house deals with dreams and all that. These people have a very strong instinct to other people's problems, and they're very in tune. They have really strong intuition and gut feelings. So they're very, very, very aware of other people's primal instincts, because Pluto deals with the instincts on a very strong Plutonian level, like magnet energies. I love Pluto energy. But these people are very powerful because they're so intensely aware of other people's bad behavior. So they can find a partner in crime to escape with. These people, yeah, Pluto on the 12th house people. I see someone that can literally just see that, oh, you're bad company. Okay, I'm gonna be around you because it's just helping me self-destruct my life because I don't understand it anyways. It's a anger involved, and it's a just a long rabbit hole, deep rabbit hole that a person will experience all these transformations just to have experiences in life if they don't channel the energy correctly. Now, once they learn the power of transmutation, meaning allowing that emotion that they felt from the experience to uplift them, to to give them appreciation and gratification, gratitude, when they utilize the negative experience by transmuting the energy, meaning not allowing it to keep them very low, very negative, very low vibrational, very unhappy. When they learn how to transmute that energy to utilizing their appreciation energy, their gratefulness, this is a higher vibration, so they ascend. So they transmute it from the experiences being negative, right? Okay, so you're in a loop of karmic or like transformative experiences, right? Things that where you lose it all and you get it back. So you're going through these death and rebirth experiences in the 12th house, so it's unconscious to you. You're not understanding how to process the information. So becoming more aware, using your ability to transcend and transmute energy, meaning rewriting the script, changing the energy. You're just playing with energy. It's alchemy. So that energy that you would associate a death moment, what you would do is, instead of calling it that, or associating negative behavior traits to it, like escaping, now you're on drugs or all that, because you are experiencing these transformations, instead adding positive, higher vibrational energies, you transcend the energy. See, so now you've taken a bad and flipped it and made it a good. You're able to go up instead of going in a revolving circle. Now you're rising the vibration up to where the experiences of transformation are not that harsh anymore. They become a form of validation to where you're understanding yourself on a subconscious level and you're understanding how the world operates, if that makes sense. Okay. So let's do Neptune and then Uranus. So Neptune in the 12th house is one of the best placements to have, as long as you're not having like a really debilitated A very debilitated Neptune, meaning a lot of squares and things to your Neptune, which makes and creates more um, learning experiences. But ultimately, people that have Neptune in the 12th house have an ability and a gift to, through isolation and being alone, to channel some type of energy that a lot of people are unaware of. Whether you're a comedian, that's a whole realm. A comedian being able to write funny lines and stories and things like that, like storytelling, authors. These are people. Neptune in the 12th house opens a door of creativity that you have to have a key. You have to have a key to get in that realm. You have to have the keys. And the keys is Neptune. Neptune will give you that foresight. And you play with it by opening your mind, allowing your mind to think creatively. And it could be whatever you're into. Some people are not as complex on these spiritual levels and things. Some people are just very in tune with cooking. And this is a person who can tap into their Neptune energy and create dishes that have never been created based on their taste buds, based on what they know. You know what I mean? Like, but the thing is, 12th house is remembering. They have to remember that they have this gift. It has to be discovered, because that's what 12th house does. It blinds you from your true gifts. But this is a tool. This isn't something that you're walking around tapped into all day, unless you're a 12th house stellium, which I'll get to that. If you're a 12th house stellium, you'll be able to tap into the Neptune energy on go, because it's just always so prominent in your world. But when you have a tool like Neptune in the 12th house, not a lot of other energy there, then you definitely can be very creative and recreational with what you produce. You're able to produce things based off of your imagination, tapping into a spiritual world that no one can see. You have the keys to that. I hope I'm making sense with that. But people can definitely be escapists. These people can be on drugs. These people can be very disillusioned about themselves. Like, they don't want to do the inner work to heal themselves. A lot of these people deceive themselves and self-harm them, self-medicate. They Neptune in the 12th house can be very hard if it's aspected negatively in the chart. These people might not be in tune with reality, and they may just be more so in tune with the world that they create for themselves. Because it's just the way you see the world, your psyche. But if you're in a subconscious place, so you're dealing with shadow sides of you all day, and you're not in tune with responsibilities, like, okay, maybe I need to get in the shower every day. Maybe I need to have a job that pays me well enough to sustain my family. See, Neptune 12th house debilitated is not going to let a person do that. They're going to be lost into the world of illusion and fantasy. They're going to be lost in their own reoccurring problems and reoccurring bad choices. Right? I could go on and on with Neptune, but my battery's about to die. So next is, last but not least, we have our Uranus. So if you have Uranus in the 12th house, this can bring about someone who is like a mad scientist. So this is someone who is a genius birthright. These people are insanely intelligent, because Uranus is a tool that we use. It's something that we use when we feel fear, when we feel triggered, or when we feel like when we're amongst groups, and we feel like this connectivity, when we feel like we're a part of something bigger than ourselves, when we feel like we need to produce, so we need to activate our thinking molecules, our brain functioning, and our brain gearing to really bringing in information, so in-depth thought, When a person is isolated in depth thought, they're able to bring forth genius ideas. They're able to bring forth revolutionary ideas. But these people can become very stern and they could have very tough skin, um, because they are just aware of the reality of spirituality. They're aware of the fact that a lot of people don't know a lot of things. Uranus don't like quote unquote stupid people. They don't like people who do not utilize their mind to think for themselves, to think outside of the box, or to utilize common sense, because the 12th house deals with our issues. It deals with the unknowing. So when a person's matured with this Uranus in the 12th house, they're always engulfed into using that tool of broad thinking, higher intelligence on things that deal with psychology, things that deal with behavior, things of that nature. So when we see people that are not, so like Uranus in the 12th house people, when they see people that are not in tune with themselves, they look at it like it's a fool, like that's foolish, because they have to understand these aspects of themselves. They have to understand things about themselves that are hard to process and requires a lot of emotion and energy and time. So these people like to be alone and create and invent things because they feel safe in that space, but they feel vulnerable sharing that to others. They feel like nobody will. Uranus in the 12th house people, they don't feel like a lot of people understand them, just like a lot of the other placements. But Uranus here really feels like a stronghold. Like I will never fully be understood, and that's okay. They're fine with it. They become okay with it over time. They realize that it's only so much that they can do, but then they can become irresponsible on learning their self, taking that time out. They can neglect that, and they can be very irresponsible when it comes to understanding the shadow sides of them and spending time alone. They can neglect that. They can, because that's the negative trait of Uranus, is to rebel. So Uranus here these people might not want to do the work necessary for them to evolve. But they're very unpredictable people as well, right? Because Uranus energy deals with they have unexpected, like, emotional trips or unexpected isolation. Like, they just disappear for a minute off the grid, come back 10 times smarter. It's instant change. Uranus deals with the unpredictable change, like overnight, like, or in a moment, instant. So these people might often just be gone, like, or just often need to just rush up and go, like, okay, because they feel these urges, they feel these nudges, and when it's time for them to shut down and rebel against being around people, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna protect that so that they can explore their mind. Yeah, they're always trying to recreate their identity. They're always trying to recreate and become a new version of themselves, because the old way wasn't working, and they don't, when they process their self, when they take a journey through their subconscious mind, their old experiences and their triggers and things of that nature, they want to be done with it. They like fresh. They like new. Uranus likes fresh and new experiences. So they're always on an urge to breaking down the old and recreating a new. Yeah. They have very, very big dreams. And if they are very clear, with the help of others, which they might not feel like they get that a lot. Because remember, 12th house isolates people from whatever planet that is. So it's an isolation on groups. Uranus deals with the groups, association, things of that nature. Uranus, it kind of pulls a person from that support. They don't have that support from the group. And they might feel like they give up on themselves because they need to produce these ideas, these insane ideas they need to produce, but they're just living it out in their mind and they're not creating what it is that they need to be creating. So this is where Uranus could get caught up in self-loathing, self-sacrificing, and harming oneself too, because they feel like a pity. Like they feel like, oh, why me? Like I don't even have nothing I need to help me, and I have all these ideas, but I can't even get them off the ground. Nobody believes in me and nobody would even want to hear my story. Like, Uranus in the 12th house will do that. And so it's really important for you guys to have confidence, to believe that your ideas are meant for the world. That's why you're rejecting it. That's why it's a strong urge for you to reject it. These people might write down their ideas, the blueprint to it, and then end up, passing away, and then it get discovered, right? I'm sorry, guys. I had to put my phone on the charger. But so basically that's Uranus in a nutshell. So overall, I would like to basically review the 12th house energy with all of these planets. And if someone has a 12th house stellium, it's really, really important for one that has a 12th house stellium to take their time to go within and trust their inner gut, their inner mind, and to be very clear about what it is that they desire in life. If you're having some mental disturbance and like uncontrollable thoughts, maybe seeking a therapist. One-on-one relations can be very helpful for 12th house stelliums. If you cannot do the work on your own and you feel very overwhelmed, because 12th house energy brings forth a lot of chemical imbalances in the mind. But it's really a very deep thing though, because you guys are so spiritually inclined that a lot of the work and the lessons in life are revolved around escaping and becoming more in tune with reality, being able to have a balance in the material reality world, in the spiritual dream imagination world. Because when you cross over in between the two, there can be deception, self-deception. You can be harming yourself when you're staying into the illusion world or staying into how you perceive life. Because there is your perception, but there's also another person's perception. So going down a downward spiral based on the way you see things, seeing things one track minded, or obsessing over things that you don't understand because of your lack of maturity, lack of experiences, can cause very uncomfortable and unclear mind and reality. What's happening in your mind is a reflection of what's going to happen outside of you, as within, so without. So it's really important for 12th house stellium people to just take a break. Give yourself time. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're not going to get it all overnight. You're not going to figure it all out. It's so much that exists in that world. So become one with your creativity. Become one with your imagination. When things begin to feel like you're kind of unbalanced mentally, gain balance, restore balance with natural things. Like if it's too much to process information, take a walk, drink water, eat fruit with a lot of water, and like watermelon, or like, you know, meditate. Go within. Allow yourself to overcome those fears. And another thing is, stop caring what people think about you, and stand strong in your boundaries, because you're never going to fit into social norm. You're going to always be a unique person. You have a 12th house stellium, just like people like me with an 8th house stellium. We're very deep in we have these strong, like, personality traits that can put others off. So 12th house people need to stand strong and firm in their self-awareness, and not allow outside people that have no understanding of your mind to dictate you, to control you. They will never understand, and if they don't, and if it's someone that you care about, you want them to understand, let them know, I don't feel heard. I don't feel like you're understanding me. Put your boundaries in place. Speak up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. But always be in tune with that gift of creativity that you have, that a lot of people don't understand. This is how the best music is created. The best movies are created. You know, the best stories are created. All forms of art and creation exist in the 12th house. So become one with your unique abilities, and eventually you will gain the clarity. You will be able to exist in this world and the others. You will be able to stand strong and firm in yourself, with self-confidence, with ego, you know, self-esteem, a knowing of what you want out of life, knowing what you're driven towards. There will be no more unknown. There will be no more misunderstood or feeling of not being heard. And yeah, so that was a really long video. Please let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning into Universal Love Law. Peace.